Denial is such a big part of living in abuse. In the sense that you can choose to live in denial or you can fight back. And Tina chooses to live in denial. So, part of my abuse growing up was being constantly terrorized and bullied by Tina. Tina and Alice would tag team me, just as they bullied Grandma in Mexico, so that my grandma never spoke to Tina ever again as long as she lived, and didn't speak to Alice until she was dying and needed someone to take care of her physically. So, that shows you how sick these monsters are, is that they bullied me as a child my whole entire life. They're still bullying me, because still to this day I get emails from Alice terrorizing me. This constant abuse. The ministry does not control their employee, but they also abused Grandma. And anyway, when we got to be adults, Austin was already born, and at that point I was, in and out of the cycle of abuse, trying to escape and trying to do what was best for Austin. But because I was so abused and so reliant on them and not knowing how to be an independent person in the world, I had several relapses, which most people do as they're escaping abuse. So anyway, one day Tina was driving Austin and I back to our place in Coquitlam after Austin had some immunizations at his doctor in West Van. And I thought we could actually have a mature adult conversation. And I talked to her about Alice's abuse and how we were constantly, yelled at, told we were losers, etc., etc. I don't remember if I told her or not that I'd read the letter she wrote when she finally moved out in her mid-20s, which wasn't really moving out, because when Alice is paying for you to live in an apartment in downtown Vancouver in the fashion district, like basically on Robson, she was right behind one of those Starbuckses that were kitty corner. I don't think they're both still there anymore, but anyway, right in the heart of downtown is really, really, really expensive. And Alice was paying for her apartment. So it's not really moving out when you're still reliant on your abuser to pay for your life. Anyway, the point is that I found her letter, and it stated that she was moving out because of abuse. She couldn't handle being yelled at every day anymore and constantly being called a loser. So when I had this discussion with Tina, her response was sick. Total effective brainwashing. She exactly said, Alice just does that because she loves us. Well, that's not love. Love isn't threatening your children to do what you want them to do. Otherwise, you're gonna be gone and disappear. Like how Alice would always tell us that one day we're going to wake up and she's just going to be gone. She's going to move off to some farm somewhere, and we'll be lucky if she ever comes back to visit us. Like, who says that to their children? That's sick. Making sure your kids know that they're not wanted and that they're expendable. And this is the brainwashing my child is living in. Making sure he's being told how he's not wanted and he's going to be sent off to Europe, and how I don't want him. Because that's what Alice tells him, is how I don't want him. Otherwise, I'd be doing this or doing that or doing whatever she believes I should be doing. She doesn't know the definition of mother. There's not 1 ounce of her that knows how to be a mom or what the word love is, because even the meaning of love, because she doesn't love herself. Somebody who tells their kids all the time how they're such losers and failures, and how her biggest mistake in life was to be too nice to us. Too nice? Where was she ever even nice in the first place? I mean, this is why Neither of us went off to college. Well, actually, she couldn't even get either of us to graduate while living in her house. So there you go. Failure of a parent. She thinks she's so perfect because she lives in West Van. Well, Tina was a drug addict and dropped out. Well, no, she failed out because all she majored in was going to the coffee shop, being around the world. Because the only thing Alice is capable of teaching anybody is how to go for coffee every day and spend money. So Tina did exactly what she was taught, went to the coffee shop, did drugs every day, and failed out of high school. And I knew that graduating high school was in my best interest and that I would not graduate as long as I lived in that toxic environment under that roof. So I moved out in a house full of guys who lived in Burnaby. But they had none of them had graduated themselves, so they knew how important it was, and they made sure that they drove me to school every day. Well, I know I missed a lot of days, but still I was on track to graduate. And I had to take the bus back to the house for like 2 to 3 hours every day to go from West Van all the way to Burnaby in such a roundabout way because the bus doesn't just go straight down the highway. So, you know, I got myself to graduate. And then Alice and Frank showed up to my graduation uninvited, like as if they should be so proud that I graduated, which had absolutely nothing to do with them. I mean, beating your kids every day and telling them how stupid they are is not how you get a child to be successful. But they think they're perfect because they live in West Van and they have money. And now they're getting away with child abuse all over again. Because Alice, the Wicked Witch of West Vancouver, thinks she has the right to buy my child and abuse him and keep him hostage. So he hasn't seen or spoken to anybody he's known in his entire life for 5 years. So when he has special needs like I did, how does anybody expect that he's even going to graduate high school? All these people just live in denial about the danger that my child is in. Well, actually, I don't even believe that they're in denial. I think they understand the truth, but they just care more about their paychecks, which is the definition of child trafficking. When you're taking money to keep a child in an abusive environment, that's child trafficking. But they want my child to suffer so that they can keep their jobs. They don't have to admit that they've done anything wrong. And Tina still lives in their house to this day on their dime because she can't function in the world. Because when you're told every day of your life that you're a loser, you don't accomplish anything. Even when she moved to Finland for a while. That was on Alice's dime. And Alice would send me crazy emails, you know, taunting me about how Tina's getting married and how she's buying them properties here and there, etc. Well, how come Tina's not married? Oh, did Alice, the Wicked Witch of West Vancouver, run off her boyfriend like she did all her others? Why don't you ask Tina what happened to Geordie Birch, who I think was the love of her life? Alice ran him off because he didn't have money. She couldn't stand him. And she would tell Tina that every single day about how she needs to get rid of him because he can't support her lifestyle. Alice wants you to stay in that cult dependent on her.